Now, you were in Australia earlier in the year. You wore your famous billboard and took to the streets and had discussions with people. Let's have a quick look at a couple of those interactions in Melbourne.
See, you don't understand. You can sit there and you can preach whatever you freaking want, but you don't have that experience.
But like, what you're saying is gender ideology shouldn't be taught in schools. Why can't people be taught that they're allowed to be who they want to be?
When you're talking about children cannot consent to puberty blockers, what's funny about that?
They can consent to puberty blockers. Children aren't being given puberty blockers, and puberty blockers have no irreversible effects. So, what's the deal, yeah?
Chris, how did you find Australia? And as an outsider, did you detect a difference between different cities? Is Melbourne more woke than Sydney, for example?
It might have been luck of the draw, but Melbourne is as woke as anywhere I have gone. It was pretty amazing. And there were all these feminists at this domestic violence rally who had a problem with me because I think we shouldn't sterilize kids, but they were fine with this man in a dress who was with them coming into their spaces. So I don't think they really understand the source of domestic violence. But people are just deceived. As we heard in that clip there, this woman thinks that children aren't being given puberty blockers. Well, if we're not giving puberty blockers to children, who are we giving them to? It's to block puberty, and it's children who go through puberty. So people who oppose this really just don't have any information. And so my campaign is really about educating them, and it's working. We're reaching millions of people, and all across the globe, we are putting a stop to this in different jurisdictions.
Now, let's talk about the fallout from the Olympic boxing scandal. That's continuing, involving Algeria's Iman Khalif and Taiwan's Lin Yuting. The International Olympic Committee spokesman, Mark Adams, fronted the media to answer some questions, but he did seem baffled when asked why the committee did not conduct sex testing like the IBA does.
Under what purpose, under what the test was for, I don't know. As I say, as far we managed to do away with sex testing in the last century, so not quite sure what the foundation for the testing was. We don't really know kind of very much more about it than that. But yes, we did receive a letter, but we won't deal with the contents of that letter.
Chris, what do you make of that response? They seem to be baffled and disgusted by sex testing, even though they used to do that for some time. It was very normal for the Olympics to have testing to prove that a woman is a woman, but they did get rid of that some 20 odd years ago. And I think it's brought all sorts of problems. We've seen the scandal with the Caster Semenya saga, and they haven't seemed to have learned from that.
Yeah, it's a funny thing. In the Olympics, they compete in two different categories. They're called male and female. So perhaps we should be testing to determine for sure that the females are females, because in these two cases with these two boxers, which makes it even worse because they're beating up women, they happen to be male. They have all the advantages, strength, speed, stamina, etc., that males have, larger VO2 max, more oxygen, all of these things, stronger bones. And yet now they're punching women, and it looks like they're both going to go to the gold medal match. So this is an absolute disgrace. The IBA already determined they were both male, and the IOC just want to bury their head in the sand and say this is all about diversity.
Well, according to the IBA and what we're hearing from journalists who've actually seen the test results, they have XY chromosomes, and the IOC was advised of that, and they have just chosen to ignore it. They've chosen to discredit the test, discredit the reasons the tests were undertaken. And the losers out of this are the female athletes, because they are going to be disadvantaged. And if both these fighters end up with medals, then I think it's an absolute travesty. Chris, thank you so much for your time. We always appreciate your insights, and we'll have you back once your case progresses further. Chris Elston, thanks for your time tonight.
Thank you so much.